welcome to the Super Rugby Round 3 review brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. I'm going to be behind the show in the live chat with you because Steve and Shane are going to take you through all of the games. So I'll throw it over to Steve.
Welcome again, everyone, to Round 3 review of Super Rugby. Shane, thanks for joining us yet again, sir. We've got 7 games to have a look at. Of course, the Aussies had one less team to get excited about, with the Waratahs sitting this one out, but it kicked off in the opening match with the Hurricanes versus the Brumbies, an Australian team in the action. And the way the Hurricanes started their season, the crowd probably was a bit concerned at home, but they were quickly put to ease as the Hurricanes slapped on 2 quick tries inside 15 minutes to Coles and Laumape. And after that, they never really looked back. The Brumbies only got their first half points through Whainga try and Lealiafano penalty, and Dane Coles closed out that half with a strong combination down the short side of Perenara to the Hurricanes. A very tidy lead at half-time that may have surprised some people after the results of round number 2. 19-8, that was at half-time. The Hurricanes creaming it, really, against a pretty average Brumbies. The Hurricanes machine didn't stop there, though. It carried on and dominated in the second half. 2 more tries for Laumape, hat-trick hero, and a newcomer to the Hurricanes scene, James Blackwell, picking up one as well. The Brumbies got a little bit to celebrate late on. Pocock got a yellow card, and Tom Wright dropped over for a try to the Brumbies. But not much happening there for the visiting side from Australia. The Hurricanes thrashing them 43-14 to kick off round number 3. Shane, what happened to the hope of Australia?
Well, the wind blew the horses away. And as you can see here, well done, Canes.
Well done.
I got that in Auckland. But one of the things about this was a complete role reversal of the week before. And the Hurricanes are pretty good at home, and the only thing missing was Conrad Smith. I thought if some of the players that 13 out there brings tears to the eyes because he played pretty well. The Barretts were on fire. Everyone was on fire. The Hurricanes just blew the Brumbies in every facet of the game, and the Brumbies had no answer for it. And the man from Snowy River had to find the colt that ran away.
Yeah, it was a stark contrast to last weekend, wasn't it, when the Brumbies were so amazing and the Hurricanes were fairly average. So it's amazing what difference a week can make to open up the round. But that is a great win for the Hurricanes, who I think can finally say our season has started, if you're a Hurricanes fan, because this has taken a couple of weeks to really get going. But now I think you're probably going to have a bit more confidence if you're going to be backing the Hurricanes. And as for the Brumbies, well, I don't know about that. It's a bit topsy-turvy from those boys. But that was the opening match of the weekend. The Hurricanes with a big win to start us off. Then we went over to your side of the Tasman, where the Rebels are against the Highlanders. Possibly, you'd think this would be one of the games of the weekend. 2 pretty exciting sides. A game really in the first half, to and fro. Both sides having a little bit of the pie to themselves. Closely matched. Exciting teams as well. Shannon Frizzell got the game underway. Strong running try to open up in the 2nd minute. The Rebels hit straight back pretty much a few minutes later on the set piece through English. The Highlanders regained the lead through Tokalahi, but then again, the Rebels gave it away and Maddox was back in for another try. The momentum stuck though as the half come to a close. The Rebels and English grabbed a second try and he took the advantage to his side, the home team, into half-time, leading 19-12 at the break. A big decisive period after half-time though for the Rebels as Billy Meeks jumped over 3 minutes after the break. And that really gave them a bit of an unassailable lead as the Highlanders, as they do, closed out very well. Got a try in the 63rd to Hamopo, and then you almost thought they had won it right at the very end with Frizzell claiming his second try, but spilling the ball. I mean, he did spill it, but there was a bit of excitement going on there, just about the Rebels throwing that one away. Final score was 24-19. What do you think about that finish?
Lucky, and it's lucky that Michael Ruru, who came on replacing Genia, had warned the referee that there was a knock-on in Frizzell going over the line. Otherwise, we would have seen another Highlanders come from behind win. I thought the Rebels were gutsy in defence towards the end. They'd nearly kicked it away. There was more kicks in there than the Karate Kid movies. I mean, it was just... it was good to see Cooper again work with Gedia. It's clear that he's comfortable now. He's away from that pressure market that and just playing in a comfort zone. Josh Ioane, New Zealand Rugby, I think you got something there. He filled in very well for Ben Smith at 15. Obviously, I feel that had Aaron and Ben Smith played, it would have been an even better game against Cooper and Genia and the like. So, look, well done to the Highlanders for their effort. It was close. Well done to the Rebels starting off 2 from 2. And I think, if we have games of that intensity between Australian and New Zealand sides throughout the Super Rugby year, then we're in for a really good season.
Well, it'll be a comforting thing, isn't it, that the games will actually be close and Australia might actually get a few wins in the season for once, because they haven't had much success recently. So it's good for the competitiveness of the competition, definitely, for sure. One extra point I wanted to bring out about this match, I think a decisive matter in this game was the Hamilton and Gatlin combination up against the Guinea Cooper. How much difference do you think that made for the Rebels?
If I had some question marks, it'd be over Gatland. Look, the lad came from Auckland. I thought he did okay in Auckland. He wasn't brilliant by any standards, but he was okay. Well, Cooper, to be honest, cut him to shreds, I feel. I don't think Gatlin was quite up to it. I think Ioane, who I think had played 10 in the last couple of weeks, didn't he?
He did.
Is a better choice there. So, I wish Bryn well, and this is a chance to play somewhere. He's got to start, and we'll see maybe where he can fit in later on during the season. So that's something that the Highlanders coaching staff have got to work out.
I'm kind of hoping that we can shift him back to the Blues. If they would like him, it would be quite good. If we could we'll shuffle him away. We'll just keep Ioane down here, and we've still got Marty Banks, of course, as well. So I don't think
he have a good game. He have a good 25 minutes or so?
It was a typical Marty Banks performance, wasn't it? Really, just come on, do what he does well, play a good territorial game, pass the ball, keep it alive, keep it running, and he just kind of gels that whole backline together.
Mate, you could put him in a Magnum PI movie and he could still do as good a job as Tom Selleck. He's a man that just gets the job done, Marty Banks. Great.
You've got to say, when they come on later on in the season, I think when they get that proper team for the Highlanders going, he's got to be the guy off the bench. Ioane seems to be the guy. He looks streaks better than what Gatland has, and he's got to be the guy that starts, plays an hour or so, 70 minutes, and then on comes Marty Banks, finishes the deal, closes it up, done and dusted, Highlanders winning the grand final. That's it, all over Red Rover. Shocking everyone. That's it, game number 2. That was a good win for the Rebels. 2015 all over again. Bring it on. Double champions. That's what we're after for the Highlanders. I wasn't surprised by that result. I did, especially after seeing that team that the Highlanders put out. I did change my original pick to the Rebels. So there we go. I'll take that one. Another one to the Super Brew leaderboard for me. We'll move on to our third match of the weekend. Now this one, surely we've got lots to talk about. The Chiefs versus the Sunwolves. Here we go. Surprising everyone how this one kicked off. The Sunwolves dominating pretty much everything, and the Chiefs had very little to nothing to really work with. Sunwolves scored 2 tries through the first half, through Matasashi and Helu. But the boot of Hayden Parker, let's talk about Hayden Parker. That guy just keeps scoring points. He just keeps running play. We talk about Marty Banks and the effect he has. Hayden Parker is just a machine. You don't need any more 10s. You've got Parker doing it, ticking over that scoreboard. 3 points, bang, 100% kicking record. He is just flawless at the moment. He's probably, you got to say, form 10 in the competition. The Chiefs had no ball. They made mistakes with the little ball they got. Their defence was poor. They were falling off tackles. And, I mean, you can talk about how bad the Chiefs were, but you can't take anything away from how good that Sunwolves was. Their attack was brilliant, and they retained the ball amazingly throughout that first half. And they deservedly led 23-3 at halftime. And you thought, this has to be something brilliant from the Chiefs. A turnaround in the second half of epic proportions. It didn't happen. It really didn't happen. The Chiefs opened the second half with the first try to Nankerville, but then they just kept having the errors. And I think one of the greatest things to come out of the Sunwolves this year is Vanden Heaver. That guy is amazing. He scored a try, butchering one just moments before, gets up, slams it down, has another go. This time scores it, coasting along with the Sunwolves, 30 points to 10. But the Chiefs, a little bit extra to celebrate at the end. Brad Weber putting in Nano Soturo and just over the hour mark. But the Sunwolves closed it out very well, I thought. The Chiefs got desperate. The Chiefs wanted to play. They wanted to score tries. Sunwolves did extremely well. And probably something that, I mean, their attack was so good, but didn't get the credit for was the defence to hold that out, 30 points to 15. One of the great victories, you'd say, outside of New Zealand, or the first great victory, but one of the great Sunwolves victory that definitely has to go down their record books as a defining moment of that club.
Yes, well done to them. They got a nice little team going out there, and I'm, Sunwolves excite people, rugby fans like us, because they come out and they have a crack, win, lose or draw, and they've won. They beat the Chiefs, and I'm sorry, Chiefs fans, as much as I did tip the Chiefs and I wanted to see them bounce back as well. You deserved what you got. They came out ready to play and you couldn't counter it. And that, to me, shows you the maturity of some of these players that have grown under Jamie Joseph and Tony Brown, and what work that they are doing at the Sunwolves. And you know what? This is good for the competition. This means the Chiefs have to pick up their act. And maybe I sound a little harsher now than what I have in the previous analogies that I've had. But Chiefs, get it together. Get it together. That's disgusting. 1 point after three rounds, you should be at least 8 or 9. You dropped the game against the Highlanders. You were pathetic in Canberra, and you were pathetic against the Sunwolves. That is a joke. And you got to go out there next week and say, clean slate. You got to, something, harsh words are got to have in the boardroom about the coaching situation there, and then get on with the job from the training paddock and have another go. And sorry, Chiefs fans, but you have to have a little bit of honesty there.
It doesn't get easy, though. We talk about next week just a little bit. Next week, the Chiefs have got the Crusaders. Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a time, to go from dropping what should be the easy game, like nothing against Sunwolves, but they're always going to be the easy game for teams in the competition. That's what they're going to target. Now they've got to go to possibly the most difficult task, especially in New Zealand derby, is to play the Crusaders, whereas this is about the Sunwolves as well. They're going to have to face the woeful Blues. Now, this could be one of the great tours of a foreign side coming to New Zealand to pick up 2 wins after never winning outside of their home country. This could be a massive turning point. Paul's got a comment. Here we go.
Shane, you laid down the law there, and as Shard NZ goes, we deserved it. Lol. Nakamura says, "Amen, brother." Alex goes, "I agree with Shane completely." Wow, Shane, you're the voice of the people.
I feel so humbled.
Well, I mean, where do the Chiefs? Where do they go from here, though? They've got, like I say, massive soul searching to do, massive something to find. I mean, Mackenzie's under massive pressure. He was getting absolutely hammered in social medias over the weekend as well. He looked as flat as a pancake that had no heat on it. It was terrible. And it goes to the whole team. They've got some great players. And it's kind of the guys that you don't expect to be doing the hard work that are probably the ones that are kind of the shining lights for an otherwise pretty average Chiefs side. But that was a terrible match for the Chiefs. But I agree with you. They deserved it. They didn't play well enough. They played like rubbish. And Sunwolves, we have to give them a round of applause.
Absolutely.
And I think it's fantastic. Fantastic for Japanese rugby, Sunwolves rugby, but also Super Rugby as well is fantastic. That is our
and
third
the
match
Australian
done.
Conference as well.
I mean, Sunwolves are top Australia?
No.
I think so. Oh, no.
I don't think they
Shut
will.
down.
But I think that this is great competition for the Australian Conference sides to pick up their game too.
And when we see the Rebels versus Sunwolves, that's the game we want to see. That's the excitement. Okay, we've gone 3 in. Paul's got a few announcements to make. Ad break. Pay the bills.
So, yes, it's a shame the Chiefs lost, unfortunately, because that means that my event this weekend, which is a watch party at 5:15 in the Zone Sports Bar in Hamilton, Sky City, is going to be a bit, it's a bit of a non-event, isn't it? Crusaders versus the Chiefs. We're watching that game. Myself and Stephen, not Steve from this one, but Stephen from the Tuesday, Wednesday night shows, will be there giving a preview, a half-time show, and also a full-time show as well. So come and join us, watch the game with us. Unfortunately, yes, we expect the Chiefs to lose, but I might even go out and buy myself a Chiefs jersey especially for it. So come along, see that, and join us at Sky City Hamilton for the watch party.
Man, things don't get much better for the Chiefs. I was just having a look at their next fixtures. After the Crusaders, they play the Hurricanes. Then they go over and they play the Bulls. And then they play the Jaguares away. And then they have a bye. I mean, the chances of this Chiefs side is going to be absolutely ravaged by the time they get to the bye, which will be, I think, in round 8, if my eyes don't deceive me. That is going to be amazing. I mean, we put pressure on the Stormers to get wins before their bye, but they have turned around a bit.
So should they be having the Mad Monday in their bye and just get it out of the way and don't bother waiting for the end of the season?
I'll bring the chicken wings.
Oh, let's move on from the Chiefs. It's a bit easy to pick on the poor guys at the moment, but someone's got to do it. Move on back over to your team, the Reds. The Battle of the Red. The Reds and the Crusaders. The Crusaders, though, were quick out of the blocks, scoring a couple of early tries. Enor and Jordan, 2 massive stars of the future, it seems, what the Crusaders are delivering inside 10 minutes. But what's the problems with Richie Mo'unga and his kicking boots? Still a bit of an issue there for him. Surprisingly about this game was the periods of a long stalemate between points, 2 sides that we know, well, we've learned about the Reds that they like to score points and are very attacking, but the Crusaders, we know, love to keep that scoreboard ticking over. And it took a long time before Karevi stormed over at the end of the half for the Reds to cut their deficit down to just 10 points to 7, the Crusaders taking in that half-time lead. In the second half, though, it's what we expect from this Crusaders side. They started to dominate early in the second half. They love those periods either side of the break, and they were picking up points all over the place. They were taking the corner as well, as we expect from the Crusaders. I think that game did start to get a bit on their nerves, and they felt that they need to take control of it, which is what they did. A big driving maul try, especially suited for the channel. But how about that amazing driving maul that the Crusaders are really developing there? Lukan Tui, or what he's otherwise known as, I'm not going to go down there, picked up a yellow card for the Reds, and yet again, another set-piece demolition job for the Crusaders that scored another try through the maul for Taufua. What I found interesting about this game, before we wrap it up at the end, though, the 74th minute, when they actually had used all their subs, and Mitch Hunt went off with what seemed to be a concussion HIAT, so it actually wasn't, and Mo'unga got in a bit of trouble there going on the field as a replacement when he wasn't actually allowed into. That meant they had to play that last 6 minutes or so with only 14 men on the field. Higginbotham took advantage of it, scored a try down, a little short side play, and it made the game a bit interesting when you see the Crusaders there with 14 players. The game wasn't close, but that sort of difference can close out a game quite interestingly. But the Crusaders, seasoned professionals, and they did it themselves, 22-12 over the Reds. Are they as good as you'd seen them this season, the Reds, or do you think they fell a bit short against the Crusaders?
Well, I had a bit to say on Saturday night about certain aspects in one of those sides, and perhaps a little bit to say about officiating as well. But that's another story. Look, the Crusaders scored the first couple of tries early on, within the first 10 minutes, and you can't do that. You can't chase a game when the Crusaders are in that hot form. And when they went over for those DrivingMaul tries, they should have all been wearing the blue hat, Paul. They were that when they went over, because it was class.
Oh, but hang on, I'm going to jump in, but Jaguares driving more from outside the 22. Oh, now there was something to
was
get
much
your
better
chops
than
into.
the Crusaders. But certainly, when I saw those DrivingMauls, I thought, gee, that'd be good if they were wearing Paul's hats while they're doing that. But that's typical of the Crusaders. They're a team that make you hide under the bed because they are that damn good. Look, I've got to hand it to the Reds. The heads didn't drop. They kept trying right up until the full-time siren, and it just wasn't enough against not only New Zealand's gold standard, but the gold standard for the competition. So, well done to the Crusaders. They take 4 points out of Brisbane, and they just keep marching on. And the Reds, big test against the Waratahs next Saturday night.
There's going to be a huge test for them. I think they did well enough. I mean, they were in that game for a pretty long passage of it as well. So I don't think they're going to be too disheartened about, their record doesn't start well for them on the table, but I think their performance definitely has a lot to take from for the Reds. And having that bye, just if you don't get the wins and you have that bye early in the season, it can make it look a lot worse than what it was. But the Crusaders, like I say, rolling on, and as we will be as well, over to Africa for the Lions versus the Bulls. And if you're not going to take a little shot here at the Lions, Shane, I'm going to be disappointed. So you've got about a minute to prepare here as we go through this game. The Bulls, from the outset of this game, they showed intent, they showed domination, determination, and from the start, this is a Bulls team that will just kick you off the field. Pollard is a machine. He takes threes, and they just milk penalties, and he kicks his way and his team's way to big points hauls. They just keep doing it, and that's what they've done all season long, and it's working for them so far as well, especially against a team like the Lions that were really wasteful penalty-wise. The quick ball from Rux, I think, is very good, and short pass between the forwards really did outshine what the Lions could do, and that's how they scored. They only tried the first half, which went to David Mullen, who just tore that whole pack to parts. And so a whole Bulls pack did tear it to parts. And 14-0 at halftime, the Bulls up over the Lions. That's a pretty comprehensive. To hold the Lions team to 0 was pretty surprising. Second half kicked off. Pollard just kept kicking the goals. He continued to add threes, and that just kept the pressure on the home team. The Lions got a little bit near. They got points on the board at least near the 50th minute of their first try through Sadi, keeping in the forwards, keeping it tight, and that got them their points on the board. And then they picked up their second a few minutes later. Dylan Smith breaking out, scrappy little period of the game. The ball pops out, and the big man bumps away and runs away to bring the score up to 23-12. You think maybe game on in the closing stages, but no. Not at all. The Bulls said not a chance, and they closed it out really well. The Lions probably closed it out more for them, and Gallant goes over in the corner to really finish it off completely. 30-12. The Bulls completely dominant in an away match, which shocked me when I woke up on Sunday morning and went to work. How did the Bulls do it? Away against the Lions, what went on there?
Well, it's a role reversal of what happened in round 19 last year. And Paul might remember, I actually went on the preview show that week, and I said that this was going to be close, and I was hyping it up. It was the Transvaal Derby in South Africa, and what we've seen is the Bulls come out of the gate, and the Lions could have been the Cubs, and the Bisons came out and attacked with the horns. I mean, that is just fantastic by the Bulls. Obviously, there are bigger tests to come for both those sides. But 18-point winning margin. you know, Pollard's putting over some threes, so you know that just ticks the scoreline along, particularly in South African games where a lot of that is for domination and working hard for your points. So you know, look, well done to the Bulls there. They've got 2 from 3 so far, and the Lions have lost their last 2. So I just don't feel that this Lions side is the Lions side of the past 3 years, and you know they've dropped a game against the Stormers, they've dropped a game against now the Bulls, so a bit of regrouping to come along, and well, it's just early days for me, but well done, Bulls. I think they're quite happy now that I think that John Mitchell's not coaching the side. Sorry, John. It just looks a different Bulls side from last year.
I've actually got a point mark down here, similar to what Hayden said in the chat about what happens if Pollard does go injured, because he's so instrumental to that side. He's so key to how they are playing. But apparently our concerns need to be eased to rest, because Unbiased Rugby reckons that the backup is a decent enough kicker as well. So there we go. The Bulls are fine. The Bulls are super fine. But Pollard versus Yankees, big battle. We know there's only one really winner there in that big clash of the Springbok 10s. But injuries, always crucial for guys, especially like Pollard as well. But big win for the Bulls, and that goes a long way to making Super Brew even tougher to pick in future weeks. Thanks, South Africa. You're doing us proud over there. Good God. Let's move on to another one that makes things even tougher for future weeks. The Sharks versus the Stormers. And what a start to this game. Damian Willemse, what a cracking intercept. I can't think of a better way to describe it, but one of the best intercepts I've seen going around the traps. Cracked straight through, scored an early try, and things are quickly out of control for the Sharks. The Stormers off to a flyer, and to me, that was really the only highlight worth talking about in that first half. It was penalties exchanged between the sides. There's a couple of yellow cards. Lacanio Arm got one, Akavanamurva got one. But in the end, it was 13-3 to the Stormers at the break, and Willemse was my highlight for that first half, cracking stuff from him. Into the second half, it started pretty much similar, but the other way around. Lacanio Arm coming back from his yellow card and making it up, scoring from the first minutes to bring the Sharks back into the game. Minutes later, Danjou Paslier gets himself a yellow card as well. It's a yellow card frenzy. Great for my counter on the preview coming up this week. And at the scoreline, 13-8, there was a chance for the Sharks, who were just 5 points behind, but they couldn't do it. And the two sides just added some penalties, and the Stormers did well to hold out, I think, in what was a low-scoring match, but quite an interesting game to watch for a low-scoring game. 16-11, the final score. Discipline becoming a problem for the Sharks, I think, in that game. Offsides, ruck penalties, high tackles. It was brutal, but they have issues.
Well, the first thing to note is the Stormers bounced back since round one. They've won the last two on the trot. So, obviously, they've fixed up a few little problems that were happening on and off the field, and well done to them. And the Sharks, I've heard some comments that they scrambled hard to manage to get a bonus point out of the game. So, well, that's one positive for them, I suppose. South African games are starting to become harder to predict, as you mentioned. I saw the opposite happening. So, you know, it just goes to show you, whoever turns up on the night gets you the points. And it wasn't a try-scoring fest. Wonderful intercept. I could see that, looking at the reverse camera, he could see that the opportunity was coming, and he made sure that he ran in that line and took the intercept and went over. Lacanio Am obviously went over for the Sharks and scored a try in the second half, and that was a good bounce back. But there you go. It ended up 16-11, and the Stormers take that as great confidence for building up their year, and the Sharks, well, they're up there as well. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
And a second win on the road for the week as well. South African sides, the Stormers. You wouldn't pick it normally, but there you go. I do agree with the comments in there. It was a game of who could score more, or who could get concede more penalties at the moment. But I think that's a massive Sharks problem. Yeah, right in what you say. Offside, so many offside penalties. I couldn't believe what I was. Yeah, the referee was constantly giving offsides. It was brutal. It was a really rough match, which is kind of old school South Africa. When you go from watching New Zealand games where they're tough and that, but I mean that was really around the cuff stuff over there. It was, I think. I mean, some disagree, but I think it was quite an interesting, intriguing game, especially from this side of the competition as well over in New Zealand. So 16-11 final score. Stormers picking up another win, and they make things even harder for us in Super Brew in the coming weeks as well. Final game of the round, Jaguares versus the Blues. Oh, the woeful Blues. Penalties again, order of the day. The Blues struck 3 first half penalties. The Jaguares hit 2, but there was a brilliance of one man, Moiano. Oh, that guy. He's been threatening for a while. He's been around the traps, but boy, oh boy, did he come alight in this game. That first try, just pace, out and out speed, out and out electric pace, and that along with terrible defence from the Blues. You'd say, you saw that schoolboy rugby, you'd be still disappointed. It wouldn't be a season with the Jaguares without Lavanini getting a yellow. He didn't disappoint, picking one out just after half an hour, but they went to the halftime break. The Jaguares with the lead, 11 points to 6. The leading side, though, for the Blues, they continue to go for points. They continue to miss most of their attempts, but 4th and 5th penalties come along for the Blues. And as they have all season, though, the Jaguares, they really stepped it up in those final 20 minutes. Moiano again, absolutely burning the field up. And then Montoya again with, like Paul mentioned earlier, the best maul try you will ever see. I've written it in caps as well. Destroyed the Blues. I mean, if there's one way you want to absolutely waste an opponent, you maul them like that over 20-odd metres, and that just finishes the game completely. They tried to fight back, the Blues, and they did get a little bit. Dalton Papali'i pick up a fortuitous try, but nothing more going their way as they really struggled to break down, I think, the Jaguares. It was close, 4 points in it, 23-19. The Jaguares good enough, but the Blues too little too late. Final score, I think, flattering the Blues a little bit.
Oh, it flattered the Blues a lot. I thought the Jaguares were outstanding. Their forwards, Moiano, 0 to 102 seconds. It's almost like going into Bathurst. He was on fire. Might as well have won Bathurst by running rather than in the car. He's a quick dude, and he went over for his 2 tries that were well deserved. And like the Chiefs, I'm going to have to say to the Blues, you had 2 winnable games on the road. Now, get it together. You have a team that has a lot of potential. Even the scrum, the last scrum of the game where you got a penalty, you should have been able, with the forward pack you had, to push that over. And the Jaguares completely outdone you. The Cats were hungry over there. And I really think that we are seeing something very special in Super Rugby. If New Zealand sides, and I know the Blues haven't been great in years past, and the Chiefs haven't performed as well as they should over the last couple of years either, but it is very special to see that Jaguares and the Sunwolves are beating these sides. Not because I'm not tipping them. I'm actually probably tipping the New Zealand sides because I think they're going to do what New Zealand sides always do. But this is, and if I could mention too, it was the Jaguares' 50th game of Super Rugby, and they are starting to be a real fan favourite, or a second team for a lot of fans. They are just performing to an above average standard now that we really should expect from a side that has a lot of internationals. And the Blues, I've got to say, you got to do a lot better than that, because if you can't come up with at least one win from that tour where there were 2 winnable games, then you've got a lot of problems to fix. And it doesn't matter who's coaching the side, it seems. It's the players not doing the job.
I want to add one little more thing, because it's easy to say the Blues were terrible. It's easy to say the Chiefs were terrible. But I want to specifically add to it that I think the Jaguares and the Sunwolves were good.
How good were they?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
They weren't their average self. They didn't just get played beneath what they're doing. They actually excelled. They actually performed. And that is what's more exciting about it, rather than the demise of other sides in the competition. So you've got to give them credit for that, rather than just saying, oh, the other team was really rubbish. Maybe they were, but they did step up as well, which is always good for the competition. A lot of mention about the loss of Sanchez for them this season, but that Bonelia guy really is stepping up. He is a pretty good sharpshooter with the boot as well, and controlling the games well, and actually giving his backline enough ball to do stuff with. So I think they're in safe hands. They seem to be playing well. They have the structures that the Blues really didn't show any of as well, and to come away at home is always easier for them to do it. Let's see what they do on the road, though. That's a big test. But the Blues, I'm tipping the Sunwolves. There's my number one pick for next weekend. Sorry, Blues fans. Got to do it. But that is it. That's our 7 games. All perfectly summed up and done and dusted. Back to you, Paul, to wrap up the show.
Thank you very much, guys. Absolute joy as always. And don't forget, Shane and Stephen will... Shane and Steve, sorry, Stephen's the other guy. I got sorry, it's just too complicated. We'll be back again next Monday, wrapping up round 4. Before then, though, tomorrow night we have the #Rugby chat. Obviously, the World League will get discussed there. On Wednesday night, the All Blacks edition. We'll be talking, obviously, All Blacks for an hour. Thursday evening, I've got Ryan back to preview the round 4 games. And then I will be live post-match for the Hurricanes versus the Highlanders on Friday night. I'll be at the Zone Bar in Sky City, Hamilton, for the Crusaders versus Chiefs. Come join me down there for the show I'm going to do down there, which I will also YouTube the post-match review. And then I'll be hot stepping it home to do a live post-match review of the Blues versus the Sunwolves as well. So lots and lots of Super Rugby content coming your way. Don't forget also that Steve will have his own preview of the of the round 4 games over on the Cornflakes Crib, or just Cornflakes?
Either does. Shane is a special guest this week too, which is good timing.
Who is?
Shane is.
Oh, Shane is. Oh, fantastic. And obviously he'll be giving you the rundown on how his the old Super Brew League is going there as well. And I came second last year. I'm not coming second this year. Anyway, up there to subscribe to the channel, down there to help me bring you all this content for free, plus get exclusive access to Driving More content. And then there are 2 videos over there for you to dear me, YouTube artificial intelligence says you love. So click on them. Enjoy.